Good morning. Is there an Omnicom table over there? Just for the record, it was a great time. Nothing could have been better. Maybe with the addition of Publicis, it could have. Oh, that happened already. Anyway, so thanks everybody. And should I just hit this? It's so great to be the first presentation of the inaugural Chief Digital Officer Forum, because nothing has been established, nothing has been done before. Everything has to be created from new. And so I want you to know that those guys back there got the presentation about 10 minutes ago. And I think it's wonderful that we got this far. First slide. Okay, so my name's Chan. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Profit. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And nobody's really sure exactly what that means. So what I thought I would do is ask a lot of our clients what that means for them and for us. So over the last 6 months or so, I've been talking to many of our clients who are usually CMOs of companies, sometimes CEOs, because Profit is a brand consultancy. So today's topic will be about where do CDOs come from, what is their role, and where they're going. And now I want you to know this is my part is the view on this according to CMOs. Troy will come talk about a slightly different point of view as well. But nevertheless, it is a crowded house, the C-suite. This is just a selection of chiefs. The Chief Digital Officer has finally made its way to Wikipedia, which means that it's real. But it has actually killed off the Chief People Officer, which I feel really bad about. I used to have one. The Chief Human Resources Officer, however, is back. So we'll welcome them back. Great. So what do we do with all these chiefs? Well, there's more coming. Okay, so 25% of businesses will have created and filled the Chief Digital Officer title in a year, basically. And on top of that, 70% of the companies have a Chief Marketing Technologist, Creative Strategy Technology Guru that reports in some fashion to the CMOs. Admittedly, it's 70% of the companies that we've surveyed, but I think it's a good proxy for the rest of the industry. So, where do the CDOs come from, and where are we going? Okay, this is the very first version, but what we want to do was take a step back a little bit as to what the CMO's journey has been, so that it can highlight what CDOs are expected to do for CMOs. There was a time, a long time ago, when a brand could be what it said it was. There was no social media, there was no alternative blogs, and so on, so that whoever spoke the loudest, I think, could determine the identity for a brand. Today, actually, a brand is what Google says it is, but actually, I should say that's from 2007. Okay, so today, it could be what YouTube says it is, because it's number 2 search engine in the world. But really, in reality, a brand is what everybody everywhere says to everyone else today. And this is the reason why there's an entire industry of marketing technology. And these companies have propped up in order to address the needs generated by this. The marketer today has to face a few facts. The facts are that there will be 3 billion people connected to the internet. Okay? And by the year 2017, CMOs are going to be outspending CIOs on technology. Not because they're technologists, okay, but because they need to. So the question here for CDOs is, really, should CDOs be geeks with taste? Or should they be, in my opinion, marketers with phablets? I'm not exactly sure. But we do know this. We do know that there's a problem in getting this done. We know that IT, or CIOs and CMOs, don't often see eye to eye. There's a huge amount of friction between the two. And as far as our CMOs that we've surveyed are concerned, this is the reason why we need a CDO. There's overlap and friction between the two, between marketing and technology. So in an increasingly complex world, caused by technology. The CMOs need assistance on the technology side. The CIOs, who often have to fulfill demands that they never had to before, need a translator to take marketing speak and translate it into functional specs. This is sort of the summary of where the CDO role was born as far as CMOs are concerned. So digging into this a little bit, where do they come from? Well, as we said, 25% of businesses are going to create and fill the Chief Digital Officer title in about a year. That's a lot of jobs. Okay? There's admittedly a pipeline building among the marketing technologists within companies, but these are some of the quotes that we've gotten from CMOs. Okay? Ideally, you don't think IT anymore. You might just outsource everything, put it up in the cloud. We don't need IT. And there aren't enough people with the right mix of technical knowledge, business experience, and consumer orientation in the market. But that's changing somewhat. And too many CDO candidates think that this job is about advertising and PR. Really, what they're looking for, what CMOs are looking for, are business leaders, people who can understand a spreadsheet as well as a database. Okay? People who can understand leading people as well as making things work. Okay? And there's a lot of project managers who are being put forward as CDOs. My favorite, one person said to me, I don't care where they come from. I need one now, right now. The data is exploding. I don't know what to do with it. Media is changing and morphing, and customers are expecting things from me that I never thought that I would have to deal with. Okay? And yet I have to deal with 6-month turnarounds on tech projects. This is the reason why we need one now. So, what is the role of the CIO? Well, there's still a bit of confusion about this. The CIOs are expected to be rather all things to all people. The CMOs think that the CDOs should be in the marketing organization. It's not a big surprise, I don't think. I think somebody was fairly straightforward. They said if a CDO was brought in as a peer, I would feel threatened. Okay. And others went right into general business. The CDO is responsible for central strategies, user experience or customer experience, digital commerce, infrastructure, and technology department. I think the only thing left out of this is accounting. And but I guess infrastructure also includes accounting. Now, they should be particularly focused, some say, on digitizing the consumer touch points, pre- and post-purchase. And I like this one. The CDO should drive the digital functional experience at the same time ensuring our client, Electrolux, has the right competencies and capabilities. This is what we call T-shaped people. What I would call T-shaped people, which is to have a deep experience and expertise in digital areas, but they're also able to plug in across all of the different functions within a company. Whereas before, things were siloed and we tried to fix departments, what we, I think, are seeing is the emergence of agents who can bridge the gap between different points of view. Okay? The last one is just great. The CDOs are responsible for growing our business, strengthening our brands, and reinventing marketing. Okay? Okay, so that's not all. Okay, so what our CMOs have told us is that right now the CDO job is about filling gaps, solving problems, and giving help where basically they're Band-Aids at the moment. But ideally, they should really have the capability to be business leaders and to bring digital into every customer conversation. Okay, and this is the CDO's role, to create a seamless digital experience to bridge the gap. As you can see, I think if we were to plot this on a chart, it would have to be like a spider chart with 45 different axes, because it's really a fairly confused place, and I think it will remain so for a little bit. But I do think that there's some themes coming through. Okay? The Chief Digital Officer is going places. So, where are CDOs going? Well, one way that CMOs think that they're going is in becoming future chief customer experience officers. Okay? Or one client who is the CMO of a Fortune 50 company said to us, the CDOs are the CMOs of the future. And then my favorite, it's a new and faster road to CEO. And this person said, I wish I could do that job. This is what I would like to do. Okay? What we do know is that it's going to be a fairly fast and fairly fun ride. So I would say everybody strap in, because we're going on a journey to look for that elusive thing, that thing that some say exists, some don't, both technology and marketing and business, or what my friend Troy calls the unicorn. Now, I've talked to you about the point of view from the CMOs of the world. My friend Troy is going to come in and give you a slightly different point of view from his position.
What happened to the Whitney Houston video? I have one slide, and this is it. So I just wanted to start with a confession that I refuse to. I've been a CDO, I think, all my life. Steve, thanks for paying attention. I appreciate that you're not texting. I probably have been one all my life, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. But more recently, when I took this role at Hearst, I refused to be the CDO because I think that it's a dangerous position, and I think that I elected to be president of digital because I think that it had a kind of an accountability and a responsibility to the title that I thought was sort of befitting the challenge and more in line with the transition that an old media company needed to go through. And so with that, I'll give you a sense of what do you need, what do I think you need in the role. We can talk a little about whether they're born or made, and what you need to think about if you either want to be one or want to hire one. And my take on some of the the things that people say about CDOs, in particular, this idea that they're this bridge person, and they are defined by transition and collaboration, which I think is, for the wrong person, a death knell. So in some shape or form, I said that I had done this my entire life. It started when I was going to graduate school. I worked at a newspaper, and I was digital very early. We were starting the transition in the newspaper business then, and I sort of glommed onto the challenge at that point, and always through my career, whether it was inside of agencies or today at Hearst, have thought sort of holistically about the challenge of the wire, which is the sort of fundamental changes that having anything connected to a wire creates, i.e., it turns marketing into product, it turns operations into service, it forces everything to come together, which is why the role is so challenging. I think that Chan had referenced the fact that the role had been defined by Wikipedia, and it defines it as a transitional role, so something to move an old or one organization from one place to another. And I think if that's the case, you really need to have, in my experience, and in particular my recent experience at Hearst, a few ingredients that make it work. The first and most important is absolute, full, unfailing support from the top of the organization. Because if you are talking about a transition, you're talking about navigating a world of a two-headed beast where the needs and interests and requirements of one medium or one channel aren't always aligned with the other. And that takes shape in many, many ways. In the magazine business, for example, it meant that the needs of the print world were to sell subscriptions, and the role of digital, as it was originally conceived, was to support the sale of subscriptions. With that as a backdrop, competing with people that were interested in delivering service to consumers in the best possible way, i.e. a pure play free publisher, would destroy you. So you really have to completely change the alignment of the organization, and what it means is you're sort of by necessity alienating parts of the organization, and you need that leadership at the top and the support to move the boulders. that transition also needs a name, and at Hearst the name that I've sort of used is from months to moments. And it's so foundational in how we think about things that it changes everything in terms of how we structure, how we staff, what we look for in editorial talent, how we think about product, technology, et cetera. But the challenge of creating media by the second, delivered across any device, is so fundamentally different from packaging and curating a product that people love by the month that it is a separate business and needs to be sort of managed as such. It's really hard to keep them together if you want to realize the potential of the medium. I would say the second thing that is almost as important as the support is domain credibility with the old. And I think that that's vital. And again, this is through the lens of a media organization. But if I can't sit with Joanna Coles, who's the editor of Cosmo, or Robbie Myers, who's the editor of Elle magazine, or David Granger, who's the editor of Esquire, all of whom are venerable, thoughtful, incredibly talented individuals that have, earned their stripes inside of the media industry, I'll never get anywhere. And so it takes a tremendous force of will and clarity and evangelism to communicate how you fundamentally create and change and deliver a new product experience, one that, while they appreciate it and kind of increasingly understand it, they don't understand it. And those things, I always think about my relationship with Joanna in that regard, because she's, was an op-ed lead at The Guardian, incredibly incisive and smart, and the one thing that we sort of had to come to terms with was that the internet was an entertainment medium before it was anything else. So we could take down politicians, but if we didn't entertain people first, we'd never have the distribution and the sort of proximity to the consumer that we needed to really have the influence that the organization or that the media brand once had. And so it was just getting to that idea together that took a long, long time. And it requires that trust and credibility that's absolutely essential if you want to kind of navigate the next of the organization. I think fundamentally, in addition to that, you have to control the mechanics of the experience. So if there's an organization where you don't control technology and there's no product group and you do not have a deep connection to ad product or the editorial product, you can't realize the potential of the role. I would suggest to you that if you don't have that support, credibility, and mechanics of the experience, you can't do the job. And fundamentally, it's really about a product function. And if you're not deeply connected to the product function and have that sensibility or that aspiration, that to me is the beating heart of the CDO role. It is about how you create experiences that people love. I think finally, you need a P&L. So that's really difficult in matrixed organizations. How do you structure that right? But P&Ls give you credibility in organizations. And they're sort of fundamental to having the sort of gravity to make the kind of change you need to make. So let's talk a little bit about where they're from. I sort of think of them as an evolved executive. And we can come at this in different angles. So they're evolved in the way that a unicorn is evolved. You could think of it, I went to see Reverend Horton Heat last night, and it's like the difference between a guitar player and a band leader. And you can think of it in terms, if you're from the sales organization, I always think of it this way, is that you sort of have to find people that transcend the discipline, meaning good salespeople are likable and organized and tenacious. Better salespeople are conceptual. Great salespeople have a deep point of view about the product they're selling. And sort of transcendent salespeople have all of that and they're leaders. And those are the kind of people that start to transcend those organizations and move into other places that become either CEOs or chief digital officers, et cetera. The same thing in product. A decent product person is a project manager. A great product person really understands the depths of technology and knows how to focus on the consumer. An even better product person understands brands and marketing. And increasingly, you're seeing that as a requirement, not on the marketing side, but on the product side, which is why you see so many Venn diagrams these days, because digital requires Venn diagrams. I use them all the time. And we are in an era of the Venn diagram. And so, when you think about what is great marketing today, it extends logically and seamlessly from the product. So the freemium model is product as marketing, right? It's like when you're playing Candy Crush, you're being marketed to. And you don't even know it because you want so desperately to get to the next level. Content, if you're using BuzzFeed, they are fundamentally, publishers, but they're also content marketers. and that's what their content does. It reaches out and it pulls people in. Great, service organizations also sell through, the service function. Think of the Genius Bar at Apple or something like that. So those kinds of transcendent executives are the kind that will define these CDO roles and go on to, I think, lead corporations. Because it's in a world of hyper-specialization, which is you have data scientists, you have architects, you have deep technical competencies, et cetera. You need the unicorns that can tie it together. And so we have those two sides, right? People that can understand and appreciate how to synthesize a world of deep specialization, and the people that can figure out how to focus it on a user and move it forward, which to me, at its core, is what the Chief Digital Officer is all about, and why experience is essentially what defines that role. I would say that as a conceptual model, I will go back to a Venn diagram. I think that the idea of geeks with taste is nice. I would take it up a level to make it even geekier. And I think that it's about the overlap between the API and interface. And I think that the Chief Digital Officer essentially owns the APIs of an organization. And those are really what defines an organization and its connections to an ecosystem. The interfaces that we have as organizations are what make those poetic and beautiful and usable and all the things that make a consumer want to do business with us and come back and be loyal. So it's that thing, the API and the interface, I think, that are defining. So that's my take. I think that in fact, this role, if you choose to pursue it or hire someone that does it, invariably, because of the changing nature of digital and its profound and fundamental impact on organizations, needs to be more than a bridge, because bridges connect to things. They don't create the sort of fundamental substrata, and that's my take on it. Thank you.